Hey Falcons fans! We have a lot to discuss about the future of our team and what's going on in the present. So without further ado, let's get right to it. Enjoy this video and comment below. What do you think the Falcons should pay more attention to in making changes? Now, let's talk about the salary cap situation in 2025. Michael Penix Jr.'s emergence as the Falcons' starting quarterback has brought a much-needed spark of optimism after 7 long seasons without a playoff appearance. Penix has shown flashes of brilliance in his first 3 starts, and it's hard not to draw comparisons to what Jaden Daniels did for the Commanders last season. He has that game-changing ability that the Falcons have been desperate for, but the road back to contention won't be easy. While Penix has the potential to cover many of the team's weaknesses, a Super Bowl contender needs more than just hope. It needs smart roster construction and efficient spending. Unfortunately, that's where things get tricky for Atlanta. Last offseason, the Falcons handed Kirk Cousins a massive $180 million deal with $90 million guaranteed, a decision that, in retrospect, may go down as one of the worst in franchise history. Not only did Cousins fail to lift the team as expected, but his contract now severely limits what the front office can do this offseason. Here's the reality: Atlanta is projected to be $7 million over the salary cap, ranking 27th in the league. Remember how just a year ago, GM Terry Fontenot was being praised for getting the team out of cap trouble? Now, they're back in it because of the Cousins deal. It's a tough pill to swallow for a fan base hungry for success. The good news? This isn't a long-term crisis. Most of Cousins' guaranteed money comes off the books after next season. But for 2025, the Falcons are in trouble. So what can they do to create cap space and remain competitive? There are a few options on the table. The team could consider restructuring deals for key players like Chris Lindstrom and Jesse Bates III, both key pieces worth keeping. An early extension for star receiver Drake London could also be on the table. And of course, the best-case scenario would be to find a trade partner for Cousins to clear that contract, but his no-trade clause makes that a tricky move. No matter what happens, don't expect Atlanta to spend big in free agency like we saw last year. The reality is that the Falcons have limited cap space and only 4 picks in the upcoming draft due to past trades and tampering penalties. Fontenot and head coach Raheem Morris need to make every move they make this offseason right. If Penix doesn't deliver or the roster isn't strengthened enough, we could be looking at an 8th consecutive season without playoff football. And honestly, it's hard to see Fontenot and Morris keeping their jobs if that happens. So, Falcons fans, what do you think? Should the team do whatever it takes to trade Cousins and free up cap space, or is restructuring other contracts the smarter route to take? Big changes are happening in Atlanta, and we're here to break it down for you. The Falcons just signed offensive lineman Matthew Cindric to a reserve/future contract. Now, you might be wondering, who is Cindric? Well, he's an undrafted free agent out of Cal who spent time on the Falcons practice squad last season. Cindric is versatile, playing center and guard during his college days, and even had stints with the Vikings and Jets before returning to Atlanta. This move marks the 14th reserve/future contract signing by the Falcons since the end of the season. Here's the full list so you can get up to speed. QB Emory Jones, WR Philip Dorsett II, RB Elijah Dotson, WR Jesse Matthews, WR Dylan Drummond, OL Joey Fisher, OL Javon Gwynn, OL Tyrone Wheatley Jr., DL Junior Aho, DB Lamar Jackson, DE Khalid Kareem, DB Benny Sapp III, WR Makai Polk, and now OL Matthew Cindric. Clearly, the front office is focused on building depth and competition as we head into the offseason. Now, let's switch gears because the Falcons are also deep into their search for a new defensive coordinator. On Tuesday, Michigan's Wink Martindale was interviewing, and former Bengals DC Lou Anarumo is next on the list. The Falcons' defensive struggles last season were evident, so this hire will be crucial to Atlanta's success going forward. Stay tuned to our channel for every update on this developing situation. But that's not all. There could be some blockbuster trade news on the horizon. Every offseason, a disgruntled star seems to hit the trade market, and this time, the Falcons could be in the running for All-Pro cornerback Jaire Alexander from the Packers. Alexander has had an injury-plagued season and left Green Bay under some strain. He skipped out on speaking to the media during a locker room cleanout, and his relationship with the Packers appears to be strained. Alexander is undoubtedly talented when healthy, but he has missed significant time over the past 2 seasons and has some attitude concerns, including a bizarre instance where he was suspended for coming out for a coin toss without being a designated captain. Despite those issues, he's a 2-time All-Pro and could be the perfect complement to A.J. Terrell in Atlanta's secondary. The big question is whether the Falcons are willing to absorb his massive contract and whether the Packers are actually open to moving him. What do you think, Falcons fans? Should Atlanta go all in on Jaire Alexander, or is the risk too high given his injuries and contract situation? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. The Falcons have officially begun their search for a new defensive coordinator, and the team didn't waste any time interviewing some big names. Don Wink Martindale was the first candidate to meet with the team on Tuesday. Martindale, who spent last season with Michigan after coaching the Giants, brings a wealth of experience, including a long stint with the Ravens, where he helped build one of the most respected defenses in the league. Next on the interview list is former Bengals defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo, who is set to meet with the Falcons on Thursday. Anarumo is known for his strategic adjustments and was a key part of the Bengals' back-to-back AFC championship runs in 2021 and 2022. His defenses were flexible and made critical adjustments at halftime, which is exactly what Atlanta needs right now. But here's the twist: the Falcons can't finalize their hiring process until they comply with the NFL's Rooney Rule, which requires them to interview at least one minority outside candidate. So while Martindale and Anarumo are the top contenders, expect the team to explore other highly qualified candidates in the coming days. Let's talk about the current state of the defense. Head coach Raheem Morris decided to part ways with defensive coordinator Jimmy Lake after just 1 season. Lake's unit struggled, finishing in the bottom half of the league in 3 of the 4 major defensive categories. Ranking 23rd in total yards allowed and 23rd in scoring defense, it was clear the Falcons needed a new direction. Morris emphasized the importance of building around key defensive pieces like A.J. Terrell and Jesse Bates III, who both had standout seasons despite their overall struggles. He also praised linebacker Caden Ellis for his growth, but acknowledged that the front 7 needs significant improvement, especially considering the Falcons finished 31st in sacks last season. Looking ahead, there are still other potential candidates in the mix. Former Falcons assistant Jeff Ulbrich, Steve Wilks, Leslie Frazier, Marvin Lewis, and Dennis Allen have all been mentioned as possibilities. Each brings a unique blend of experience, from Ulbrich's past with the Falcons to Wilks' recent defensive work with the 49ers. Now, let's be real, this hire is critical. The Falcons haven't made the playoffs in 7 straight seasons. If they get this decision wrong, the pressure on Raheem Morris and GM Terry Fontenot will only increase. But if they get it right and pair a solid defense with emerging talent on offense, this team could finally turn the corner. So, what do you think, Falcons Nation? Should the team go with an experienced name like Martindale or Anarumo, or should they take a chance on someone new? Leave your thoughts in the comments and let's get this debate started. And remember, hit that like button and subscribe to stay up to date with your Atlanta Falcons. Go Falcons!